Hi everyone and welcome to the Tormek live sharpening class. It feels like it was ages ago we did this, so it's super fun to be back. Also we have an interesting topic today. We will be talking about the Tormek grinding wheels. It's something we get a lot of questions about, which grinding wheel is suited for which application and for what tools and so on. We also bought a new little toy, a microscope, so I will really be putting Wolfgang to the test. We will be looking at every different stone in the microscope, and I think it's, how close will we get? Is it 2,000?
2.5.
2.5 times.
You can't hide anything.
No, so I hope you're feeling good shape today, Wolfgang. With me I have my good friend and colleague Wolfgang, or Sharpening Doctor, as some of you might know him.
Hello, Sebastian.
Welcome, Wolfgang.
And Victor behind the camera, or?
Yes. Welcome, Victor, as well. It is live, which means that we might make mistakes since we haven't done this for a while. The big advantage is that you get the chance to ask all your questions, and hopefully we'll try to answer them as best as possible.
Sure.
We will be talking about our 6 different grinding wheels, our 3 stones, we call them, and our 3 diamond wheels. We have 1 utility knife on every wheel, and Wolfgang will be sharpening on all different wheels. Then we will look at them in the microscope, and you will get to see those images. So I think it's exciting, and I hope you knife or tool enthusiast there that likes sharpening will find it fun as well. Great. Have we forgotten anything, Wolfgang, or should you start talking about our very first original stone?
I would say we start straight away with our most versatile, sharpening stone or grinding stone, which is our recipe. It's aluminium oxide.
Yes.
And you have a grit of 220, not 250. Some people mistaken that. That's just the diameter. So the 250 is for the T8 and the bigger machines, and for the smaller ones, the T8, T4, it's a 200.
Yes.
So this is for you to understand the naming. The Super Grind 250 is our original Tormek grinding stone. It is mounted on the Tormek T8 original, and the smaller version of it on the T4 original, and the Bushcraft version, yes. Also T4, of course. And the biggest advantage with that stone is you can change the grit. So we have a very rough in the beginning. When you roughen the stone, I will turn around now and show how to roughen up the stone. You just take the SP650 stone grader with the rough side, and preferably with the rough side with the edge, because you can glaze the stone as from the stone grader. So it's much more effective. A little bit water up, and then you just soaking up, yes. And then you just over the edge roughen up. You see already so I don't speak in between because you won't understand anything. It is very noisy. So now it's very aggressive, and when we sharpen, we'll have, of course, a good removal of material. And wow, they dry down more water. You see, it's live.
Yes.
We filled them up yesterday to the brim, but it seems quite warm here.
Good you have your water boy coming here from the side.
Yeah, it's good to have a water boy, not only in sports.
There you go.
There we go, a little bit to be sure, yes.
And now it's as aggressive as it gets, more or less. 220 grit, you would say.
Yes, absolutely. And if you want a tiny little bit more,
yes,
is when you drew the stone with a TT50.
Truing tool, yes.
Then it's perfectly rough.
Even more aggressive.
absolutely. This is for big tools and heavy damage tools, ideal to use it. Or you just use it very slightly without removal, not to remove too much material. And then just, we take a few strokes, so we don't sharpen the tools on both sides and very sharp. We don't make a sharpening test, we are just here looking for the result. And you hear already the stone, it's very aggressive. It's very, also you feel it, it's taking quite a good material. And then I would say we go over to the microscope. Just use a little bit water or air to remove the water, the expensive air. So, and then we go on the microscope. We'll see what we can reach here. It's not as rough as I thought. You can make the stone a little bit rougher and a little bit sharper here. It is, now we get a better picture. It's, you see, quite rough, some little bit deeper grooves. You can adjust it maybe a little bit more.
So you could make it even rougher with the TT50, I think.
Yeah. And still you have the burr on the top. It's most is hidden on the other side. It will turn around, that you get see where the burr is on the other side. Then I have to, yeah, here you have all the material on the other side.
You see quite a lot of steel, and it is quite efficient, so it has removed quite a lot of steel, so just in a short, those seconds you sharpen, all that steel was produced or removed from.
Yes.
Great, should we...
But when you look here, it's very rough also from the...
Just by looking at it from far.
Yep.
Should you try to do the fine...
I would say we just hoon, very quick hooning on it.
Yes, to show how you...
Even that
the difference.
With the coarse, you will not reach the extreme sharpness, of course, but you can remove the burr, and you see it is much better than before, but not as sharp as you maybe expect. And,
but for a knife, you would always recommend to go and make the stone finer before use it, right?
And then you saw, or you see here, the burr, how it's ripping up the leather. It's because it's like yeah, what do you call the garden tool, where you collect the grass. And this side is much easier because there's the burr not on that side, it's moved to the other side from the sharpening. And now you see it's removed and it's just on the tip here, but we don't look on the top side, we are looking here. Just take away the hooning paste. And then we have just a quick look. You see already how good the bevel is, and then I will magnify a little bit better that direction on, here now. You see already quite a good edge, even with the 220. Of course, depends also on the steel. This steel is not as hard, but very, what do you call it when it's
quite brittle, or
not brittle, the opposite.
Soft.
Soft and like a chewing gum.
Yeah.
Sorry for that word.
No, you do it in 3 different languages,
so it is really a huge difference already, but still there are a lot of improvement possible. When I change the grit now to 1000, and I would say I don't change the grit to 1000 because 1000 is, the grit is 220. But what you do, you smoothen the surface and break the particles. That means then you give a smoother surface and to that you get an effect of 1000 grit. So that means still 220, but the effect of 1000. And it also takes about 10-15 seconds. It should go a little bit faster, yes, because it was not as rough as I prepared before. I should have done a little bit longer. And then you will hear it immediately also. It is much quieter. It's not as rough as before. And even the feeling is, it's like, yeah, it's oiled, it's grease on it. It's really no friction. So that means it will give you a much finer surface. Yes, I think that's okay. We go over to the microscope. Again, a little bit more expensive air in the tin. 2 weeks ago, maybe someone from Ireland there, can we explain why when you're on a petrol station you have to buy the air? In all other countries the air is for free. So 1 minute, €1. So it's quite expensive. So now, beautiful. You see, it's much smoother. You don't have these deep grooves. A little bit of adjustment. Yes, here. Then compared with the rough surface, but still there are some grooves. This is why you have still 220, but it's much more, polished, you can't say, but it's much more smooth.
It's much finer.
You see even also on the bottom edge where you have the side of the blade and then the bevel, it's much more straight line with no grooves, and even the edge is just a little bit burr. And if you just take around a few on the other side, you see there's not very much burr there.
We didn't remove as much steel as we did with the but it's quite fascinating. So with the same stone, you can have a much more aggressive.
Even if you, maybe Victor want to, if it's possible to show. Now, of course, this is polished already, or a Hund. This is more polished. Before it was much more rough. And this one from you, the right side, is not polished yet. So it's a big difference. Still there you see typical more the pattern compared to the right one with 1000 grit.
So this is why the original stone is so popular and works so well. It is extremely versatile. You can remove a lot of material, but you can get a very fine finish. It's also versatile in that sense that you can round off the edges if you have a recurved blade, for example, so you can sharpen a recurved blade.
Yep, all the spoon carver knives, and all the rounded or belly opener, all these.
And if a mistake happens or you make something in your stone, you can always save it as well with the TT50, the truing tool, which is also an advantage. So it's super versatile. The limitations would be perhaps ceramic knives.
Exactly, it's not possible.
It's not possible. And knives above 70 Rockwell, we recommend to go for one of the other stones, right?
Or especially if you're woodworking, wood carving, wood turning tools, for example. You can sharpen there too, it's no problem, but you will end up when you have a bowl gouge with a groove and then you have a flat chisel, you have really to chew very often. So then it's a little bit too soft, but there we have done the next option when we go over to the next stone, but we have just a quick...
It's super versatile, which is a big advantage, and why it's so popular as well.
A little bit dust on it, so you see it's easy to polish and get a nice, really nice bevel. And just think it's a 2,500 times magnified, so you will still see the grooves. When you're looking here, you have to really have a good light.
Yeah.
And we still see it, but very, very small.
But I think the viewers really see the difference between the coarser and how fine it is and how versatile the same stone is.
Absolutely.
Which is our aim.
You can hoon that, of course, a little bit longer, then you
Make
will
it
get
even more polished.
Exactly. So when we talked about HSS,
yes, and other harder alloys, then it's our SB 250 Blackstone silicone stone.
yeah,
And it's made of?
silicon carbide.
Exactly.
One point is important to know, it is only available for the T8. We
Yes.
don't have as a 200 and SB 250 only here, not as a 200.
No.
So it's not available.
So all our other stones are available on both T4 and T8, but the Blackstone only on the T8.
Yeah. It's also 220 grit. That means also 80 micron. When we talk about that again, like the standard stone, our original stone, and 1000 grit is roughly around 5 micron from the effect. So we can't change the grit because you close the finish, the surface more or less.
No, but we have the same possibility. It's versatile as well. This you can change the effect of it between 220 and 1000 grits. However, it's a bit more difficult since it's a harder stone with the SP650
Exactly.
to change the grits. You might need a little longer.
And you don't get the same roughness from the feeling.
No.
Because the stone itself is more aggressive.
Yeah.
Because this is hard, so it's more glazing each other. But to get it fine on 1000, it's no problem.
But it's a great stone for people that want the same versatility as on the original stones, but are used to sharpening harder alloys.
A little more material, a little bit more aggressive.
A bit faster in the sharpening as well. I know a lot of knife sharpeners like it because it's efficient, but you also get a very fine finish.
Yeah, and have knives maybe 61, 63 Rockwell.
Yeah.
So from that side, a good choice. And even want to sharpen on a stone, not on a diamond, is also some philosophical question. Then on the other side, it is a little bit harder from the surface. Also, if you have bolt gouges here, HSS steel, it's a harder alloy. It is not deforming as fast as the standard stone. So we will just sharpen here also. We don't change a lot. You hear already it is also a little bit more noisy, a little bit more aggressive, but we have not changed anything here. So this is the original sound.
The rougher.
Yeah, we compare it to that machine. So we have raised the burr, and then we just dry. Surface, otherwise we have too much water on it, and we will see. And what we see here, a little magnifying a little bit. You see, you have also grooves, but much finer than on the standard stone, and the removal is very fast. You have a very distinctive burr on the top, a lot of material collected here, and as you see, the surface is quite fine for 220 compared now to the SG stone. And we'll just the other side, if you see a little bit from the burr more or less, we have to adjust, of course, here again this direction. Yeah, you see very distinct.
Quite a lot of burr.
Yeah.
You want to hone it as well?
Yep, we go over and just see how easy and fast also this side is to get to a nice finish. And when we talk about honing here, we have with the honing paste, it's around 3 to 3,500 grit from the effect.
Could you say that this is something between the diamonds and the original stone, if you want the versatility of the original stone, but more be able to sharpen the harder steels?
Yep.
This is a good...
It's a good choice,
yeah.
But still from the really hard material, for example, ceramic knives, it's not
It works with ceramic knives on the Blackstones,
yeah.
But it's not ideal. If we go ceramic knives, then we should go diamond, right?
Exactly, because you don't get the same finish and sharpness on the stone compared to a diamond wheel, because they're so hard. So we're looking here, we'll see what happens. Of course, we have to adjust again. So, you see, all the dirt is visible.
Yeah, but you see that the burr has disappeared.
Disappeared, yeah. It's a beautiful, nice edge.
Very uniform.
Yeah. But still, you see the stone is aggressive. You have the grooves. It's not as polished as before, but it leaves you already a really nice edge.
Great, thank you, Wolfgang. Should we move on to the Japanese Waterstone, the SG250? And it's a polishing stone, am I correct?
Right. So the grit is here 4,000.
Yes.
When we talk about grit also, we have to mention this one is after GIS, G-I-S, this Japanese standard.
Yeah.
And the others are after FEPA, F-E-P-A, E-P-A, FEPA. There are different standards. And it's not as black and white when we compare the grids. There's some columns and charts on the internet you can check. You get crazy. Yeah. It is not as easy.
No, but what we can say in general is people stare very much on grit, but grit is more complex than only it has with the hardness of the material. So the same grit it has on how exposed the grit is.
Exactly, the material, the bearing material, the material where the sharpening particles are embedded, which material, how, as you said, how exposed they are.
Yeah.
What material of them, how much pressure, what type of steel or material you sharpen. So there are so many factors that even with a rougher stone, you can remove less material, and then with a finer grit, you remove more material. So it is...
To take an extreme example, if you say 600 grit on a diamond wheel or on a leather honing wheel, that will be completely a different result. If we look at the microscope, you wouldn't believe that it was the same grit because the material, one is very hard and one is quite soft.
Yeah, we will see this then when we compare from the diamond wheel.
Yeah.
And yes, and as I said, a polishing wheel, or someone use it also to deburring. What I've done, what you also see, I use the MB100 multi-base here, so that I can sharpen edge trailing, because the rotation is away from me. Goes a little bit up with the water. It's away from me. The stone is quite soft.
Yeah.
The risk for you, for example, if you're a beginner, if you don't have the perfect position, maybe a little bit in one direction lower than the other, then we'll cut in the stone, even if you round it up, or with the tip you can cut in the stone and then we'll get a catch and then you have to drew it. It's a little bit a mess. So if you're unsure, do it in that way, edge leading, then you don't get any catch.
But it works edge...
both ways.
Exactly, but then be careful. You can also round off the edges a little bit to avoid catches if you go
the last
edge leading.
10-11 years I've done it edge trailing, edge leading, and now I do it on the shows because you talk and then you
get more careful with edge.
Exactly. Yes. And then when you're not focused, it's so easy. So, and we take a few strokes here on the Japanese Waterstone. As said, 4,000 grit. after this, as we said, and that's roughly around 4 microns for those who are interested. So, and even when we are edge trailing here, we don't produce a big burr here, because the removal of the material is very little. So this is not a sharpening stone. It's really for polishing, for finish, ideal for wood carvers, for example, when they want a polished bevel. Because a wood carver would never wait until it's so dull. He's always just more or less like hooning. And then he, of course, the finer the stone, the finer the edge, of course. You get a really nice mirror finish and, of course, a beautiful
It can also be nice
edge.
for your expensive knives. If you want to give them some extra love, then you can have the Japanese Waterstone.
Absolutely. It's my favorite stone when I sharpen my kitchen knives.
Yes.
I don't wait too long. I will always...
It will be more than sharp enough on the original stone, but for the knife enthusiasts, that...
When you have the possibility and
the interest.
And if you have nicely rough plates with a rough finish and then have a polished edge, it looks nice. Yes, of course. So even here you see a little bit of grooves. A little bit sharper. You will never get rid of them, but you see here when I go over, it's a little bit dirt, the gray points, a little bit sharper. It's not as sharp now. It's totally different than before. And then you see the edge is very nice aligned. And there's really no burr there. And even now to get rid of it, because I know this steel even gives a little bit of burr. Normally you say it makes no sense going from 4,000 back to 3,500, what we have on the honing paste. But it makes a huge difference when you cut. You will feel it. It's slightly a burr. It is like, I would say,
and also like it has a polishing effect, so it makes it a bit more polished look, right? And gives the mirror finish even more.
Even more, and then a tiny burr is there, which then is totally removed, of course. And then if you don't have this little, like a wire or like a feather, you have a completely different performance when you cut. No, it's dry, it's okay. So then we will have a look on the microscope. You see, completely different.
You see it becomes extremely fine. And also you can see some grooves, but the grooves, the light has difficult time coming in there because they are so fine, the grooves, so it doesn't...
It is, as I said, 2,500 is... It's mirror finish, you can...
No, it's...
and this is not, of course, an edge, which is a dream.
Yeah, it's a razor blade. Great, yes. Thank you, Wolfgang. We got quite a few questions. I thought we would go through all different wheels and then we will be answering your questions afterwards. But we haven't forgotten you, the viewers. We will try to answer all your questions at the end of the show. Now we come to the diamond wheels and we start with the bad boy, the DC diamond wheel Coarse.
Exactly.
360 grit.
Yes, and even here, diamond wheel normally call it in mesh or in micron. Because the most people can understand the grinding paper, the sanding paper, 120, 180, 400, 240 or whatever. It's much easier to compare for the most people. It's just for us, for the nerds, maybe interesting more the other facts. But as I said, it is not the complete truth.
No.
It's only the half of it. So don't fix it too much on it. So this is around 50 micron.
Yeah. But this is quite aggressive and is made for steel removal only, I would say. So if you need to resharpen a tool or repair a tool, but it's not a finishing wheel. So if you need to have another wheel to make the finish on it, right?
Exactly. And then in general, for all the diamond wheels, they are coated even on the outside.
Yes.
So you can have even a flat grind and a hollow grind. Or you have very short tools, because you have sometimes the problem when you have a jig, you will touch the surface, but when you go on the side, it's completely free. For Japanese chisel, for example, or even goat feet, it's very easy on the outside. We have there a few YouTube sharpening, live sharpening sessions already about these different tools and issues and sharpening.
And the advantage is you will never groove the wheel.
It's always flat.
Flat, always the same diameter, so you don't need to, if you change between the stones, you don't need to reset the angles.
Exactly, it's just like really fast, turn around, and then you take the water trough off, and then the other disc on it. You don't have to adjust anything because they're all in the same dimensions.
And it's great for very hard steels or for ceramic knives. Diamond is by far the hardest material there is.
Yep.
And in this case, it's electrolyted plated diamonds, industrial diamonds, into a steel core, right?
Exactly. And then, as you see, we use also water.
Yes.
That means you need the ACC 150, our anti-corrosion concentrate. Don't dry up the tools or the wheel, just let it dry, gives a coating and protects you for stain. You can use also the ACC on all other stones to protect your tools. It's not only for the disc.
We got a question, so I said we were going to answer questions afterwards, but I think we can target that question. Why we say that we recommend to run them with water, but they can be run dry as well.
Exactly.
Why do we recommend it with water and not dry?
A lubrication is always good.
Yes.
Even if you look in the industrial usage of sharpening materials, it's always good because it protects your sharpening material.
Yeah.
Removes all the steel you remove. Yeah. It's bound in the water, and then we collect it with a magnet down here, so you have always a clean surface. This is one point. You can do it, of course, dry, it's no problem. But as I said, lubrication prolongs also the lifetime. The other thing is when you have high alloys, which high content of different other materials, you have a nice surface full of dusty material, and then you breathe it in. So it's not very healthy from that point also.
So both works, but we recommend water.
And it's much easier, or you even from the feeling here, with the lubrication, it's a much better feeling when you sharpen, and even the metal through the rotation, I don't know why, it seems to be magnetized, collects a little bit dust particles, and then you come a particle underneath. We don't have this when you use water, so there are much more advantages. So you hear already, it's very hard, it's very rough. You feel it also, it's like you're in a cobblestone street, and we don't need too many strokes and no pressure here, really, just very light. The maximum pressure is when you press on, when your nails starting getting white, and that's absolute as a maximum. Less is really better and prolongs also the lifespan of the stone, because diamond is, or all the super abrasives are delicate against pressure.
Yes.
So we have a look how that looks, and this is quite really rough, and we'll see if we can a little bit sharper even on the line below. We will have a look first here. You see really deep grooves. It's a zigzag. It's not a nice line on the bottom line, so it means really deep grooves. And then when you go to the top, we have to adjust, of course, then again. So you see all the material on the top, and they're only the particles which are connected. The rest is all in the water. And this is, as I said, the big advantage. You have always really...
and you see the difference very clearly coming off the Japanese Waterstone and now going on the diamond wheel Coarse. You see why we perhaps do not recommend it as a finishing stone, but
Yeah.
more as a steel removal.
And you
stone.
see even on the top really deep, it's a little bit valleys and like the Alps.
Yeah.
And
I
then,
don't think you need to hone it. It is.
Yeah, it's, we have seen there.
Yeah,
We can
this is
speed up.
rough work. This is to remove steel.
And then you do anyway a finer. Yes, when we go to the next one.
Yes, DF250 diamond wheel fine. This is the most versatile diamond wheel we have, the mostly sold as well, because if you only buy one diamond wheel, most people will go to this because it's a good balance between steel removal, but still you get a good finish.
Exactly. It's like the alternative to our original stone.
Yes.
And it's around 30 micron or mu, if you want that fact. The other side is when it's the alternative to our standard stone with a grit of 220 and we have 600 here. This is exactly what we mean. It's finer, but the removal is exactly like the original stone.
Yeah.
And you will see the finish also when we have sharpened. It's very close together. And so therefore the grit is not the complete truth. We have this discussion very often, but
I think often people want a simple answer. They want that the grit size is the full answer, but like many things, it's more complex than that.
Exactly. So then we have that on the microscope. We just
and for which kind of users would you say the diamond wheel fine is ideal for? People that likes to sharpen knives, wood turners?
Everything, yeah, wood turners, knives. This is ideal for wood turners to shape or change the angle for the tools because the surface is quite big. This is pure for sharpening.
Yes.
Everything, very wide, except again the round tools we can do only on the stones because here the diamond wheel is like this.
All recurved tools.
Recurved is not possible because you can't round off the edges. They're quite aggressive. So also because they are aggressive and when you don't hold the tool perfectly flat, a little bit like this or like that over the edge, it's very little, but you will end up in...
And you cannot change the grit on this. This has one grit where you can change the grit on this.
Exactly. So for a beginner, I recommend always start first with a stone. If you make a mistake, you can drew the stone, you can repair the stone, you can round off the stone. You don't get as easy a catch. When you're used to it, I would say then go over. Or if you're a very careful person, that's okay but here still you can't repair it.
No.
Damage is done, it's done.
Should we see what the fine looks in the microscope then?
Yes, without honing it looks like this. You see under the underline to the side, it's very nice, very clean already, very aggressive, takes quite a lot of material. I'll just adjust a little bit more to the edge.
But way finer than the coarse one.
Absolutely, and then it's quite close to the 1000 on the standard stone, so something in between.
Great. Should we hone it and see if we get an effect?
There was not. I have to use that honing wheel. The other one is not prepared. It's new. Let me just go over here.
And in general, honing makes quite a lot of difference. So we recommend to always hone your tools because that is what makes them razor sharp.
Exactly.
Even with the finer grits.
The burr, what you see, will break off, but it will break off also the edge.
Yeah.
Then you lose quite from the beginning a lot of sharpness. And just see on the side the dirt. But you see the edge is a beautiful edge. So that's a really, really sharp tool then.
That can also be a relevant tip that you see when you see this up close. You see how much steel and dirt there is left on the knives. So if
It looks-
before you go cut into your meat, it can be good to clean it off with a
It
cloth
looks
or-
clean, but still you see on top immediately a few skin particles when you move them up.
But you see, it's a very fine finish,
Yeah.
and equivalent to the original stone, I would say, more or less.
Very fast and easy to achieve.
Yes. Great. Last one out, the diamond wheel extra fine, DE250. What can you tell us about it, Wolfgang?
1200 grit. It's quite fine, around 10 microns. Compared to the Japanese stone, you will end up here more or less like a silky finish, not a high glossy, well, that side, glossy finish compared to the Japanese stone. It's used mostly also by knife makers if they don't want or need for outdoor knives, for example, like a polished finish on the edge. They prefer that because it's also a little bit faster, a little bit more aggressive. Of course, to a Japanese stone with 4000 grit, and therefore also a little bit faster.
But it's still a very fine finish.
Absolutely. And then honing is also, of course, honing is key. We say always sharpening is about 20% of the sharpness, 80% it's on the honing wheel. They're more the work 80% on the wheel and 20% of the time in honing, but it is really where the sharpness is coming from. So you blow them away. Oh, there's still metal on it. Yeah, no. So this is 1200 grit. You see already really very, very fine. Still small grooves, of course, but you see underline, it's absolute one line, there are no deep grooves. And they're very small burr, very small. And even one of the big reasons why the burr is so little on top is because we are sharpening edge trailing, leading against.
And then the burr becomes, when you go edge leading, the burr becomes shorter and easier to remove as well.
We take the material from the edge backwards, not that way. It will create much bigger burr.
And it's also a bit more efficient to go edge leading because the steel removal will be a bit faster.
Faster because you have the natural pressure to that. From here you will have, it's more away. When we talk of course the small ones or the small the finer ones, stones like Japanese stone or like the 1200 diamond wheel, the burr is in general smaller, but then we talk here always in the high end anyway. There's the little burr also very, how we say, you see when you come up, still it's bent on the other side. You see it directly. Remove the other side also. Is folding over because
you're folding the burr back and forth.
Exactly. I have to remove a little bit. So looking on the microscope how it looks. Now it's dirt.
Yes.
But you see it's a beautiful edge. A little bit, if you're very, you see in the top small serrations, but they're very small. The question is always, you can end up in a much sharper, of course we showed you, can much more honing, much more polishing.
But still it gets very fine, and it is
that's
great for smaller wood carving tools or knives.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you, Wolfgang. I thought we were, if you follow me over here, I thought we would, before we answer questions, talk about two other methods as well, just to give you an idea of it. before we went live here, we tested a honing rod or a honing steel, and we took pictures of it to show you how it can look. We will get it up on our screen here in just an instant if the technique is with us.
Yes, there is it.
And walk us through what is we see here, Wolfgang.
It's also the same microscope, the same finish, but instead of, as many say, I sharpen my knives with a stone, I don't use the leather wheel. I take the rod, the steel, and use the steel rod to deburr my knife. But what you end up, you make a beautiful edge, as you see, and you have the dark in the bottom, this is the side of the blade. Then you have a thin, lighter layer, is one new bevel. Then the wider grayish one, this is the original bevel from the sharpening. Then you have another little bit colored, is one bevel, and then a dark one in the top. These are so, with a few strokes you produce another levels, because the steel rod is also abrasive. It takes away material. So all the work you have done, you destroy.
And it shows how difficult it is to respect the angle as well. You will be creating several bevels, and also you see all the steel particles that has come. So if you now use a rod, we really recommend to dry it off.
Yeah, clean it off.
Otherwise,
you see it very often in the butchers or whatever, just on steel, and then cut in the meat. You have all the steel particles in the meat or in the food. So this is what you should do. Clean it afterwards. The rod works perfect to reshape, or not reshape, to resharpen it, but you will end up in a little bit more convex shaped bevel, then you need to resharpen again. So that works fine, but not from the beginning destroy immediately.
And then
a nice bevel.
We also have another picture. We tried a pull-through carbide sharpener, like a simple V. There are all kinds of them there, and we did that on a knife that we have sharpened on a Japanese Waterstone. And here you see the result.
Just one draw.
Yeah. And tell us, what is it we see, Wolfgang?
Artistically, a winter landscape. Snow-covered trees. You see, it will remove and destroy completely your edge. It's like shaving off the steel. It is impossible to get a really nice edge. It's perfect for tomatoes, but nothing more.
And this picture perhaps shows why we are quite critique about these pull-through sharpeners. When you put it in the microscope and compare it to the Japanese Waterstone, you really see how you can damage a nice bevel very quickly.
It was quite a surprise for us. Therefore, I was keen to buy a microscope. Just to see what happens really.
It's quite unforgivable with the microscope when you come up that close. Great. We will answer questions in just an instant. I have one question I would like you to answer before, because we get that question all the time. People often ask, why are we using diamond wheels instead of CBN? We have links here below that on our website where you can read more in detail about it. But just tell us, Wolfgang, why diamond instead of CBN? You see you have a small graphics there.
Exactly. You can see the graphs on the web page, of course. Very short, both are super abrasives, but the usage is different. And CBN is a cubic bore nitride.
Yes.
It's used for higher speeds.
Yeah.
They need the speed to resharpen itself. It's always also used with a lubrication. And the diamond wheel, or the diamond, is perfect for our speed.
Yeah.
So it's a slow one. By 700 degrees, which we don't reach, even if you use them dry, the diamond will lose the properties. CBN even there, in most 700 degrees is one point where they got soft and destroyed. But you can reach with a bench grinder, with a CBN wheel, much easier. At the moment you get sparks.
And therefore you need to use CBN on a dry grinder. But with our application, diamond is twice as hard.
Exactly.
So to use
more
CBN
effective
is just stupidity, or I'm mean, but it is.
The lifespan is longer. that speed. Just think about you have the sharpening blades or sharpening stones, the blades with diamond, but you never get them in CBN.
No.
They're all diamond because it's slow.
And it's the same with the Tormek diamond wheels.
So there's a technical reason why.
That's the short explanation. Go on the link below here and you can read all about it. I think it's very well
Technical
explained.
facts.
I think it's even better explained than what we try to do here.
Exactly.
Great, let's go for questions. First question is Rebus from Greece. He's T4 owner. He used it for green woodworking and he's happy with his carving knife. He sharpens them flat over hollow, but his gouges leave something to be desired. Is the SG200 the answer?
For carving, wood carving gouges, perfect, as I said before. You have gouges, chisels for wood carving with a polished bevel, especially when you work in green wood, because all these small lines you see in the wood again.
Yeah.
If you have a polished surface, you have a really nice, shiny, also surface when you cut. It's getting sharper, and as a wood carver, you never get the tools get too dull because you are just hooning more or less always. So that's absolute perfect. Or if you don't work with green wood, the diamond wheel extra fine
can be a good solution.
From wood, exactly.
Great. So go invest is our. Fred, we answered your question before. Why the diamond wheels? We recommend to run them wet and not dry. So that question is already answered. Let's see where we are. Christian says most sharpener come with a set of 4 to 6 grits. I think he means. I always wonder how Tormek made it with one grit.
That is our recipe. This is not the standard stone bought somewhere else. These are our recipes.
Yes,
they are produced for us with that properties. So this aluminium oxide and a little bit hocus pocus secret what we are doing with that you can really change the grit. That's the reason behind it.
The genius of it. It's a very wide range of grits in one stone.
You can say 220 rough, 1000, and if you do nothing and just sharpening, you end up about 600.
Our good friend Ken, hello Ken, hope you're well, demonstrates making a light single pass across both bevels after both are ground, remove most of the burr on the F200. Would this be an effective general practice with all wheels?
Absolutely, because you get there when you sharpen on the opposite side.
Yeah.
On my side now, when I sharpen here, the bevel, when you turn around a slight pass at the end, you remove the most of it. And some steels are really bending on both sides.
Hard to get
maybe do it twice or 3 times. You save a lot of time on deburring. The more
when you finish sharpening, one light pass on every side makes deburring easier.
Exactly. If you have this as a habit, we haven't done it here today because we want to show the burr.
Yeah.
And
but that could be a good tip. Thank you, Ken. It works
absolutely
with all stones. And let's see where we are. There we have. How long do the diamond wheels last? Lenderman's Enigma.
It's always a question how much you use it. Also, if you use it in a proper way, no pressure, because when you sharpen, you can use pressure, speed up the process, which is not possible on the diamond, because then it will be very, very fast dull. I would say when the diamond wheel is down, also the stone is down. So it's not better or last longer because this is the ultimate diamond, the hardest material in the world. So,
but the diamond won't break. It will just become finer and finer with time, and therefore it will be less and less efficient.
Exactly, and don't press harder then.
No, but we say a couple of thousand knives or something like that is an average.
Yeah.
Here, Oaken Arm says he's a T4 user in Texas. When using the stropping wheel for larger knives, I have the SG200, so the sharpening wheel tends to get in the way. Any suggestions?
We have turn around the machine short.
So we will be showing it on T8. even
Yeah,
though you
now
have
this
T4.
short, we have now a longer knife here at the moment, but the problem is from your side. Also, Victor is the camera is now, what is his name? Howard or was it? No. Okenar. When you polish like this, of course, a long knife, the stone is in the way, but you can use it a little bit diagonal or in that way without any problem. So I will show you from my side now. You will see it when you watch. Even here, when you go straight, the stone is in the way. You can just, I start with a shorter one or with even with the longer, always on one end and then turn around, and then you can go for longer easily. When they are long, I start here, go over also.
That is a great tip. You also have the option to remove the stone if you have a very long knife or a very long tool. Just put on the transport sleeve on the wheel side, and then you can use it without the stone.
Then you can go straight on, or when you go instead of from the top a little bit like here, then you come also over there. So that's easy. This is the way I use it.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Wolfgang. Now it's Howard's turn. Howard is asking, when honing, how often should I add honing cream? Every tool, every other tools, or other alternative?
In general, don't use too much because you have all on the tool and all below. I use quite a little. Maybe we have a tube here. I can show how I apply. I go on the side and press a little bit and over, and that's it. I don't use more. And apply it maybe every 3-4 tools. Depends also how big the tool is. As you feel there's no effect, just add a little bit. Also I use on a T8 maximum that was, which is in the threaded part. For a T4 maybe 2/3, not more. We sell it, of course, we like to sell it, use a lot, but really effective, it's take a little bit less.
So not too much, you need to create friction, right?
Exactly. And then if you build up too much honing paste, which is used, just take a knife's back and scrape it off
The residue.
The leather, and then you have all the...
Great, next question. When to buy a new diamond wheel?
Yeah, when to buy a new? When it's down, when you feel there's no effect.
When it's not as aggressive as you wish it for it. But my recommendation is to not throw it away, because then you can use it as a polishing stone.
It's getting finer and finer.
Yes, so don't throw it away, but if you feel that it doesn't remove enough material, buy a new one, keep the old one when you want this extra polished finish.
And especially just be also aware when they're new, they're really, really aggressive.
Yes.
Don't apply any pressure.
No.
Because through the coating, sometimes a diamond crystal is looking up and you will remove them, and then they're super aggressive.
Yes, there is a run-in period of about 4 or 5 knives.
And then it drops down.
Yeah.
And I think, oh, what happens? That's completely normal, but then it keeps your grit, and this is then the grit it should have. So in the beginning, it's always quite aggressive. So be aware there. Less pressure in the beginning, and in general, very, very.
We also have a question here from Hyven. I had a hard time keeping a consistent angle when sharpening machetes, even when using the extended jig brace. Any tips?
You mean the angle or the angle on the bevel? This is also if the bevel normally it's you keep. Go a little bit over there in front of. When you don't move up here, when you always press against and you have adjusted the angle, then you really have the same angle. On machete, when it goes round, then the problem mostly is that the angle will change. That's completely normal, even for a knife. Mostly they get thinner, and you have a nice even bevel. That means it gets thinner, smaller the bevel or the angle. The point is here we have on outdoor, I think. We have a live sharpening with a machete there, and even in the knives where I explain where to clamp to keep the angle more consistent. So this is a complete own
we
thing.
have a lot of other episodes where we talk about
Knife sharpening advanced.
Yes, and there we sharpen machete. So please surf into that, and you will.
Then you can really keep the angle.
More answers. Ken is asking, would an initial honing with a dry composite wheel followed by the wheel moistened produce a smoother finish?
The composite wheel, yeah. If you use it dry, it's a little bit more aggressive. You feel less friction when you moisten it a little bit, and you get the finish is a little bit more polished.
Yes. So we have two different honing wheels. The leather honing wheel, which we have used mostly today, and then we have the composite honing wheel as well, with integrated polishing paste.
Exactly, and here talk we also about a grit about 2000, 2500. So it's a slightly more aggressive than the honing paste on the leather. It gives also a nice polished effect. The difference is not as big, it's a little bit more aggressive and less friction when you moisten it. Just a little bit a sponge, like we have here, a kitchen sponge. If you use it just a little bit moist and then moisten it, not dripping water because it doesn't soak anything, you will see it's much less friction and gives you a nicer polishing effect. The abrasive is the same.
Great.
I don't see any difference.
Thank you. We have one last question here. Plaker, can the used diamond wheels be refurbished? The answer is no. Unfortunately not.
It would be great, but the problem is you have to turn off, then the diameter is not the same. So
it is too complicated.
Sending forth and backwards, it will be not as sustainable.
No. Great.
That's the ideas.
Thank you very much, Wolfgang. It has been a pleasure like always. Thank you, the viewers, for watching. Good to see you again and talk to some familiar faces that followed us before. Please surf into our website. You find the links below where we have the diamond wheel.
The bell, don't forget.
Down. And we also have a comparison of the grinding wheel comparison where you can read what we talked about today if you forgot, if we spoke too much. Follow us on all our social platforms, and if you like what we do, please give us a like. It's always welcomed. Have I forgotten anything, or are we satisfied, Wolfgang?
I think we are satisfied.
Great. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, viewers. Take care, stay sharp, and until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.